Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV edition. I am Peter, that's Tim, and we of course are working our way through Tales from the Crypt, the original HBO anthology horror series. This is going to be season 2, episode 17. It's called My Brother's Keeper. Full spoilers for the episode as always. So the plot of this one, Tim. Siamese twins. There's two brothers. One is a relatively normal person and has to put up with the fact that his Siamese brother is a complete and utter dick. And the episode is about a dickish one named Eddie trying to get them to wanting them to get an operation that has a 50-50 chance of possibly killing them. And the regular guy, I'm a little worried. That seems a bit risky, and it's about him trying to convince him to go through with it. And that's kind of it. And the regular guy kind of falls in love, which kind of spurs the plot on. Tim, what did you think of My Brother's Keeper?
It was okay. It's like it was entertaining. You know, there was some funny parts to it. You know, it's not my favorite. It was kind of just like, oh, that was a good one, and then you're done with it.
I'm not a million miles away from you there. I think I actually do think it's maybe a touch more positive. I think it's fun, and it was more fun as it went along. Like I was a little bit worried early on because we were introduced to them in the car, and you don't tell that they're joined in any way, and it's not until they get out that you see they're Siamese twins. But the actual connection between them was really silly looking, because it was like a little bridge, and obviously it's because they've cast two actors who obviously aren't joined, and maybe it was the budget, maybe it was whatever, but it was more like there was a little bridge of flesh between their asses rather than looking like they're actually properly joined. So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it early on. However, once it got to the main sort of thrust of the plot, where Eddie's trying to convince Frank to sign the paper to have the operation, and he starts being like a complete dick every chance he can be, and smell bad for his date with Marie, and all these other things. It got more fun for me as it went along, especially when it turned to proper dark humour towards the end, when we find out that Marie's just been paid by Frank to like go along with this, to try and convince him that they need to separate so that Frank will finally get rid of him and can be happy with Marie. But she's been paid by him, and when this all comes out, but Marie says, you know what, I've fallen in love with you anyway, Frank. I will say yes to your proposal. We will get married. And, you know, it's just when Eddie like just grabs a big meat cleaver and kills her, just stabs her on the back. Everything like sort of with the ending I quite enjoyed, mainly because it did become very cartoony in a very sort of
Tales from the Crypt way.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, sure. that's a good way of putting it. Just in the sense that Frank's reactions, like he's supposed to love this woman, but after about a minute of like shock, he just kind of turns into revenge mode.
Yeah.
And his revenge is pretty smart. Don't get me wrong, because Eddie's whole thing is that, well, they can't send me to the gas chamber or kill me because that would also kill you.
Yeah. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is what happened, but there's almost like you could make a case for by the end that Frank set this whole thing up. Like in the very, last shot, like it almost seems like this was all part of like a big plan he was doing.
Yeah, so they wake up and we see after some pills and booze to knock Eddie out, because they share a bloodstream, so if one of them takes alcohol or something like that, it'll affect both of them. And they wake up in a hospital bed, and you can see the twist coming. You know exactly. You know they've already been separated, but but obviously Eddie doesn't know this. So they're in the hospital beds, and the police come in and take him away, and he's like, "No, don't leave me." And it's like, because he's the one who's been like wanting to get separated this whole time. So it's kind of not only is it the just desserts as Tales from the Crypt often has, it's also an ironic version of it, because it's kind of flipping his own desires on his head, and the thing that he wanted the whole time that then he then used as a crutch to get out of a situation was flipped on him, and that was amusing. Yeah, but yeah, so Frank then says to the nurse the same line that Eddie had used a couple of times through about underneath all that harsh outfit, you've got a corset down in there waiting to be set free. Really sort of a catcalling-esque line. And he uses it. I didn't read it that way. Like I did consider it for a brief second. What it is saying that
Mhm.
he's now like got both parts of the personality or something like that. I was thinking, rather
Like,
rather than
mhm,
being being a mastermind behind the whole thing, I was thinking maybe since they're split up, like
mhm.
some of Eddie's personalities become part of him as well. Is
Yeah.
But then I thought I don't actually think it is that. I think it's actually just more what it seems. It's just him finally letting loose because he's not
Mhm,
attached anymore, and he's almost, even though he can't hear him, he's using that line in a
mhm.
kind of derogatory way where I'm going to use this because he can't anymore because he's
Yeah.
in prison going to die, blah blah blah.
Yeah, no, I'm not just necessarily saying again that that was true. And just there was just the way he delivered the line, and he kind of has this like look on his face that makes it, he has like a little smirk that I feel like you could read that, or yeah, like you said, it could just be him being like, "Well, I'm finally free."
Yeah. Do you know what I? Obviously, there's some things you have to suspend your disbelief on this. Apart from the fact that
Hmm.
the connection between them is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like just the idea that they're talking about, oh, maybe we should get separated. You could finally do this and this and this.
Mhm.
And honestly, I'm like, wait, you're both in like your mid 30s, late 30s at this point. You've never
Uh,
really like been trying hard before now to get separated. You think your parents all through childhood would be trying to get you separated and going to doctors and things like that. So just
yeah,
things like that.
yeah, no, it's definitely a little convenient the way a lot of stuff like pops up in it, but
Yeah. And
it's it.
don't get me wrong, like, because obviously you're thinking, wait, so have neither of these guys ever had sex? But then we see in the scene where the Frank is lying with Marie, and it's really awkward because Eddie's got a dominatrix on top of him. So you get the sense that this is probably because Frank says something like, "Right, the best thing to do in this situation is just to let your mind go blank," implying that Eddie's done this to him many a time where he's been lying there
Yeah.
and putting up with this. But also the reaction, like, because the opening scene,
Of
they're at a club.
Yeah, the way everyone reacts when they notice that
Yeah.
they're conjoined twins, it's really really like
Well,
over the top.
there's two parts of this that bother me. So they go dancing, right? And
Hmm.
actually they're on the dance floor and they're dancing, and then they eventually notice they're joined, and there's a because Marie sort of falls between them and sort of hits the bridge, as I'm going to call it. But there's two things that bother me. One, everyone in the club acts like they've just seen the Elephant Man,
Yeah.
and they are awful people. But secondly, you only just noted that they were dancing side by side. Like this was,
Yeah, at the bare minimum, you'd probably be like, "Hey, why is there a weird thing of like fabric between your suits?"
yeah, it's so
Like,
weird. Like everyone was in shock. Oh my god, they're joined. The horrors. It's-
yeah.
I mean,
And
I can forgive a lot of the conveniences because it is Tales from the Crypt,
mhm,
and they're telling a short horror story. You sort of take it as a
yeah.
sort of pulpy comic book value.
And the thing is though, I feel like it wasn't conveyed that well either, because when Marie is dancing with him, it I mean, I don't know if you noticed it or if I was looking too into it or something, but it looked like she was dancing awkwardly, like she knew. Which, I mean, I guess granted, knowing what we know now, she probably did know before because she was hired by Eddie. But at least in that scene, like, it looked like something was wrong already. I don't know.
Yeah, because Eddie had a random dance partner as well, so you think
Mhm.
the girls would be like, "Hey, why are we dancing like this? This is weird. Side by side
Yeah.
with these two guys who are also side by side. This is very
Mhm.
bizarre." But hey,
I,
there were some small touches that I really liked though. Because they had a lot.
mhm.
There was like a shot of them like on an exercise bike, and it's like an exercise bike built for two because they need to sit
Yeah.
next to each other and things like that. But what I did appreciate is there was some stuff in the background that they never even used. They never went to. They never had a scene with, but it was just in the background, and you can notice there was a cool little touch. The one I liked is
Okay.
they had two computers that were identical side by
Mhm.
side. As if
Mhm.
they'd both sit down and use computers. And there's never a scene where they're actually sitting at a computer, but I just like that they put the thought into the set design, where that's what they did in the background. They had all
Yeah,
these things in twos.
that's cool.
Yeah. Uh,
I, I did like the fight scene. I thought was actually well done when when they're fighting each other. There was a pretty
oh
cool
yeah.
like flip that.
Do you know what I will say about the joined effect, them being
Mhm.
connected, is that I never felt like it was a cheat. Like, it felt like they were properly fastened together. I don't know,
Oh yeah.
because even when they're, and obviously it would be easy to do most of the time, but I'm thinking when one of them grabs the other and they throw themselves to the ground, I'm thinking that would be very easy for whatever's holding them together to just
Oh
disconnect
yeah.
or snap or whatever. But it never felt like it did. It felt like they actually landed the right way and sort of.
Yeah.
Assuming this thing's fairly flexible, and I don't know if it would be, but if because they kind of are on top of each other at one point, whatever.
Yeah.
But it never felt like they were playing fast and loose with how far they could separate from each other. It always felt like they were actually fastened together, not by a real flesh thing, just by a harness or something, something to keep them. What I did appreciate though as well, just again a little sort of quirk to the way that the actors did this, is they kept doing things in time. Like when they hopped
Yeah.
up in the bar stools, they both kind of hopped up at the same time because they had to. Just little things like that when they were like brushing their teeth and stuff. They were doing things in time, and just lots of little things like that.
Yeah. Nice little added effects.
It was I thought it was not the
You,
greatest idea for an episode, but there was like fun little quirky things that came out of it like that, and I did like the sort of dark humor of like him murdering the girlfriend just on a whim at the end.
yeah. It's pretty much like a one note joke, but it doesn't completely fall flat. There is room for some enjoyment there. And yeah, not the best
Yeah.
episode, but certainly an enjoyable one.
Yeah,
Definitely worth your time.
it goes back to the whole convenience thing where there's all these things they're just doing for the first time because this is the first time we're seeing them, when really they should be so like used to this and tuned to it.
Now, I don't want to give too much away for any possible future episodes, but I was really sure I knew what the ending was going to be, and then it wasn't. So I started thinking, wait, was I remembering a different episodes? And I'm kind of wondering now if there are two episodes with conjoined twins
Oh,
that
that'd
we
be
might see
weird.
later.
That would be weird. That'd feel like because as much as I think this was better than some. There was definitely worse episodes this season.
Yeah.
I think there was probably a good handful of 4 or 5 that I liked less than this, by probably a reasonable margin. Like there was some that we just flat out didn't like. Whereas I think this was fun enough. But I think if this had been any longer, it would have like worn out its welcome. If anything, I think I could have shaved a couple of minutes off of it, off a couple of scenes. But yeah, so the idea that there might be a second Siamese twin episode, I mean, I guess if it's played differently, it might be okay. Like if it's not as quirky and comedy, if it's more, I don't know.
Like the one I'm thinking of, I think was a little less on the comedic side, but again, I don't know. I don't remember if I'm thinking of a movie or a different TV show.
Well, technically, the ventriloquist dummy was also a Siamese twin episode.
That's true. Yeah.
Very, very over the top and not very. Not that this was realistic either that much, but
Yeah.
less realistic than this was, if you can believe that. But no, that's my brother's keeper. So yeah, some fun stuff in there. Idea's a bit goofy, a bit hard to swallow, but it does lead to some fun moments and some good little quirks. So yeah, it was an okay episode. It was an okay.
Yeah.
I think this falls under. Yeah, not one of my favourites, but I certainly don't regret the time watching it.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, that's episode 17. We have one more left of season 2. We'll have that next week.
Big finale.
Big finale. Although being an anthology, it doesn't really operate under that.
Right.
You could shuffle the episodes. You could actually put them in a basket and just go like this and shake them and pick one out and just watch them whatever order you want. But
And me and my old roommate used to have all of them on DVD, and we used to. I think maybe he just had like some dice or something, and like we would roll some dice, and then the first number would be like the season that we would choose, and then the second number would be the episode we watched. So we used to just like watch like these random episodes every now and again.
and then you'd land on the rapey farmer daughter episode, and you'd regret
Yeah.
your decision. You think, no, why did we let fate decide this? What fools we were.
Yeah.
No, but there you go. That's episode 17. We'll be back next week with the next one. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters, I'm at Wibble89. Tim's at Tim Vargulish. But thanks for watching, guys. Keep watching horror stuff, and we'll see you next time.